This weekend, Christopher Nolan does it again with a biopic of one of the most important men that have ever lived. Let's talk about it.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Yeah! What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, the Ace, back with another video. A few days ago, I got to see Oppenheimer in theaters. So here is my review. Let me preface that by saying, normally I do spoiler-free reviews, but considering that this is a historical event and people know about it, just going to be a regular review, just going to give you guys my thoughts. But before I do, join me down in the comment section. If you saw this movie, let me know what your thoughts on it were. I'm excited to talk about it. I have a lot to say, so let's dive right into it. So here are my thoughts. This movie is a beautifully bleak biopic that displays the brilliance of, in my opinion, one of the best directors we've ever seen, Christopher Nolan. This movie, to me, is one of the must-see movies of the century, and I don't say that lightly. I mean it, especially when you see it in IMAX. Absolutely mind-blowing. Christopher Nolan does it again. Incredible storytelling in this movie. This movie is heavy, yet exhilarating. The way he's able to tell the story of, like I said, one of the most important men to ever walk the planet Earth, Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, he's able to do it in a way that's literally keeps you on the edge of your seat. And to me, I really enjoyed this movie. So let's get right into the good. All right, the best part about this movie, Christopher Nolan brought his A game when he made this movie. He is at his best. To me, this is a legacy-defining movie for him. He's made great movies, the Batman trilogies, Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception. This movie is up there, in my opinion, this movie's up there with those. Not saying it's the best Christopher Nolan movie, but this movie is definitely up there with those. He's able to, the cinematography, the storytelling on point. The way he's able to take a very flawed individual is the essence of this movie. It's about Robert Oppenheimer, the rise of him leading up until the Manhattan Project, the atomic bomb. We see he's a very flawed human individual. He has his flaws. They touch base on him being tied into the Communist Party, him being a womanizer, a cheater, and they're on full display. They're not trying to make him the hero of this movie. In fact, you could argue that he's actually the villain of this movie because the creation that he made, this entire movie is basically built around, it leads up to that point. And when we get to that point, it's about the remorse that he feels, the regret, and the ramifications that have just been released upon this world. It's, phenomenal what they were able to accomplish with making this movie. And Christopher Nolan absolutely, in my opinion, knocked it out of the park. This movie is very dialogue heavy. It's not really based around the atomic bomb. So if you're going in it for the spectacle, this might not be for what you expect or for you. But it's very much, like I said, the core of it is storytelling of one of the most important people that have ever walked the earth. And we see him at, his rise and fall of one of the most historic events in history. And Christopher Nolan captured it beautifully. It was just very, very well done, very phenomenal, and it made for such a great movie that I wouldn't be surprised if this movie won a lot of awards because it is absolutely phenomenal. The storytelling in this movie, fantastic. In a recent interview, he was able to tell a story from two different timelines by having the colored version as a subjective point of view from Oppenheimer. And so it really gives us a deep dive into his mind and what he was thinking leading up to the Manhattan Project. And the black and white is more of a objective point of view. And the way he's able to combine that, at times this movie can be a little bit all over the place, but it still flows very well. It's never a dull moment, and it was just executed beautifully. All right, let's talk about the star-studded cast. This movie is filled to the brim with award-winning actors, and it's crazy to me that this movie had such a low budget and brought in a lot of great actors. You definitely can tell that they wanted to work with Christopher Nolan. I've been watching a lot of interviews with them as well, and they've all said that they couldn't wait and they've jumped at the chance to work with him. But Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Jack Quaid. I'm just reading off the list right now. Jason Clarke as well. Like, he brought him out. And they did a phenomenal job. Cillian Murphy, absolutely, like I said, award-winning performance by him as well. You can tell he studied a lot about Robert Oppenheimer, nailed a lot of the mannerisms. Like I said, I've watched a lot of interviews with him, and he's talking about how he spent years preparing for this role. And it shows. Absolutely great job, especially where, because in the beginning of the movie, you're kind of, you're learning about him, and he's very egotistical. Like I said, womanizer, and you see all that in display in the beginning of this movie. And as the movie goes on, you see, like, when they're getting towards, building the bomb in the Manhattan Project, you can start to see that he's starting to feel very remorseful as far as what is coming, and, he's feeling it, and he's feeling the regret of it as completion of the bomb is getting closer and closer. And then as the bomb goes off in the testing, which I'll get to in the next section, as the bomb goes through in the testing, you instantly see it on his face, like, what have I done? And it's just it's a crazy concept because, like, he has just given us something that has the ability to not just end the war, but end ourselves as well, which is a problem that we currently have as well. But Cillian Murphy, the way he's able to portray this performance, he absolutely knocks it out of the park. And like I said, award-winning performance. Robert Downey Jr., phenomenal. A big talking point in this movie, big selling point in this movie as well. Like, obviously, everybody knows Robert Downey Jr., RDJ now as Iron Man, but he shows you that he is more than just that. That, just in case you forgot, Robert Downey Jr. can pull out a acting performance out of nowhere and just put it on display like it's nothing. And he is one of the best parts about this movie as well. Phenomenal job by him. Overall, the cast, Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, perfect casting in my opinion. They all knocked it out of the park, and definitely one of the best parts of this movie. All right, one of the things that's a little underrated about this movie that I feel like it's not getting enough attention. I listened to other, reviews. The score was astonishing in this movie. Ludwig Goransson does it again. There are times where the score is help telling the story just as much as the storytelling and the writing. When it ramps up, it has you on the edge of your seat as well, and it has you fully engaged. There are somber moments, but the score is one of the parts that makes this movie phenomenal. All right, now let's talk about the bomb sequence, the Trinity Test. First and foremost, got to preface this by saying Christopher Nolan used no CGI in this movie. And it's good to see practical effects back again. A lot of movies suffer from too much CGI, and it's good for him to actually use practical effects, actually making stuff explode. It just makes it feel more real and more impactful, and you definitely feel it more. So, my thoughts on the bomb sequence. The fear in the room, you can fear during the Trinity Test. Now, it was a big scene. It's not a lot. Like I said, it's not a lot of spectacle in this movie, but it is one of the moments that really does have you on the edge of your seat leading up to it. Especially, when they're doing the countdown and you're seeing all these different perspectives on it. You're seeing all these people, involved in it and what it took to make this bomb. Leading up to it, I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm looking around the theater. Everybody else is at the edge of their seat as well. The score is ramping up. Makes you really feel the urgency in the room, in the theater. And when the bomb goes off, it's a sight to behold because of, the practical effects, the acting around it. You see the face on Cillian Murphy with the famous Robert Oppenheimer quote, I am become death. It was captured beautifully captured. And I actually like how Nolan was able to execute the bomb blowing up, because it hits us in a way where it's all like inaudible, no sound at all. And the only time that we actually hear sound is when the aftershock takes place, and then it hits you. But then immediately after the test is successful, you're seeing everybody, all the actors outside of Cillian Murphy, you're seeing them all excited, except for Murphy. Like I said, you see the regret in his face and like the "what have I done?" And you can feel that in the room. That really sat with me. Like, you can feel the fear in the room, because this has real world ramifications, and it does. So I was like, it was a very somber feeling afterwards, and it really impacted and it hit hard. And that's why I definitely recommend you have to see this in IMAX, because that part right there was very hard hitting. Now let's talk about the bad. There's not a lot I didn't like about this movie. The last third after the Trinity Test went off is very exposition-y, meaning that a lot of things were being talked about that we didn't get to see, which I understand. It was already a 3-hour movie. You know, that alone could have made for its own movie. But like the trials that he was going through afterwards, where they were trying to, you know, besmirch his character, and, you know, it was a lot of exposition. But, you know, it was still good because the acting was phenomenal, the dialogue was phenomenal, but it would have been good to see certain things. And I feel like, you know, I understand why they didn't do it, because the movie would have been like 5-6 hours. But overall, this movie, 9.5 out of 10. Must-see movie for everybody, especially in IMAX. Very deep, thought-provoking, great cinematography, great storytelling, great acting. Knocked it out of the park, hit on everything. Very meaningful, impactful movie that I think everybody must see. And like I said, legacy-defining movie for Christopher Nolan. I think this, in time, will not only go down as one of his best, but will win a lot of awards. This movie is that good, and I highly recommend it. But let me know down in the comment section what you thought about Oppenheimer. Did you like it? And appreciate you guys for watching this long. If you haven't done so, make sure to hit that like and subscribe to the Ace Avenue. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always, guys, thanks for tuning into the Ace Avenue. I am yours truly, the Ace. Adios.